Happening, Bulls and Bears. It is Monday, October 3rd, 2022. Pretty wild day in the markets, folks. We had a major rally on Wall Street. The Dow Jones up over 700 points today. Now, let me ask you this. Who do you think is buying these markets? Is it the average investor? Is it the retail average Joe with his trading account, with his E-Trade account or his Robinhood account? Or is it big money, the hedge funds, short covering? And do you think this is a reversal? If you do think it's a reversal, why? What has changed? So all the bad news that made September the worst month for the stock market in many years, all that bad news that made September so awful, has any of that went away? No, none of it went away. And in fact, all the signs point to things getting worse. So this is another bear market bounce or dead cat bounce, bear market rally. And I see further downward trajectory in the stock market. So I hope that no one is fooled by this. There are people out there that trade these ups and downs. If you're in there, if you're active on the computer, swing trading, day trading, you can make big money on this. I just don't like to sit in front of a computer screen for that long. There are people out there that have ways of doing it without having to sit in front of the screen. They set their buys and sells, limit orders, stuff like that, to buy at a certain amount, to sell at a certain amount or certain price. Not something I'm into, but people can make money in this. And also, the big money is made by the big money. So big hedge funds, the big traders, the big trading firms, the institutions, the big money makes big money. Okay, that's why they're big money. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the other financial news today. Bank of America is sending out a warning, and they're saying that the market is not done dropping. Bank of America's sell side indicator, which tracks Wall Street sentiment towards U.S. equities on a monthly basis, basically indicates that full capitulation in the markets has not been hit yet. But isn't it obvious? It's pretty obvious. Again, because nothing that caused the sell-off up until now is being fixed. Right? We see oil prices dropping now, $82 today. We showed you the video yesterday. We're about $6.50 a gallon here. Some stations less, some stations more, but you can find it for $6.50 a gallon here in California. Other states, the price, of course, is lower. But have you noticed that gas hasn't dropped as much as oil has dropped? Just back in June, oil was about $120 per barrel. Now we're down to just over $80 per barrel, over a 30% decrease in the price, yet we're still at close to all-time highs for gas here in California. Crazy. All right, on to some other news here. U.S. home prices took the biggest monthly drop since 2009. I think anyone that's been watching this channel, everybody knows by now, right? Well, not everybody. There's still people that just watch certain news channels that haven't realized that this is the beginning of a major correction. Now, some networks are out there, some news channels are out there saying that this is just temporary, and the real estate industry has not yet sounded the alarm for the most part. There's been a couple warnings. We saw a warning from Redfin. We also saw one out of Zillow. But as far as the mainstream, not yet a declaration of a housing correction. Definitely not a crash. They're not admitting a crash. Could it still crash? Absolutely, it could. Typically, housing markets don't crash. But if they were to aggressively raise rates or allow mortgage rates to rise, it could happen. Do I think they're going to allow that to happen? No, I don't think they're going to allow that to happen, folks. This is all controlled. This is all manipulated. This is a controlled collapse, a controlled decline. I hope it crashes. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see a crash. But I do see a big correction headed our way in the housing market, as most people do. Most people that follow this. Now, other people that don't really follow this, I don't think they see the writing on the wall. They don't know the underlying factors. It's more than just high mortgage rates. It is the U.S. consumer is on the edge financially. People are going broke, keeping up with the rising cost of living. The rate hikes, the Fed funds rate going up is not helping the cost of living. Sure, it's making home prices come down a little bit. Are rents going down? No, they barely budged. Are people able to buy a home now that couldn't buy before? Not necessarily. Home prices are still way above where they were in 2008. Now combined with the higher mortgage rates, affordability is even worse than it was at the beginning of the year before rates rose. All right, now, there are several articles out today, Bloomberg, CNBC, others, talking about how Credit Suisse could be in deep financial trouble. They're talking about that could be the modern Lehman Brothers. If we see a collapse of an institution like Credit Suisse, that could trigger the domino effect, and the entire financial system could hinder on this. Now, usually when something is expected or when something is put out there in advance as something that's going to fail or collapse or trigger widespread economic chaos, typically it doesn't happen. And that's why these things usually come out of nowhere. It's usually unexpected, depending on the financial institution. Will they be rescued? Will they just be bailed out like the too big to fail financial institutions here in the U.S.? No matter how many bad bets these institutions make, no matter how irresponsible they are, they can still get bailed out. So when the deciders decide to let these institutions fail, that's when they'll fail. And it's just like that call for a market collapse back on September 24th. I believe it was the German finance minister or somebody like that. They had a translation video out there back earlier in the year. He said, September 24th, 2022 is going to be a day that everyone remembers. You'll never forget where you were. And a lot of people were speculating and theorizing that something big was going to happen on September 24th. And I really didn't talk about it too much because I knew nothing was going to happen. I had a feeling nothing was going to happen. I never am 100% as anyone. But typically when something is put out there as a date everyone expects something to happen, typically it doesn't happen. These dates come and they go, and nothing happens. So things that are predicted, Credit Suisse, could they be the domino to start this collapse? Of course. Do I think it's going to be? No. I think it's going to be a slow motion controlled decline. Now, let me say, there could be a black swan that comes out, and that's typically going to be the scapegoat, right? So central banks, they don't want to be blamed for this because people are starting to know now. Ever since the advent of the internet, it's more commonly known now that central banks control all this. They pick the winners, they pick the losers, they pick who succeeds, who fails, who gets bailed out. Look at all the small businesses that went under in 2020 and haven't come back. Look at that last video, a plaza full of 5 businesses gone, small businesses gone. Where was the bailout for them? Oh, that's right, they weren't too big to fail. They weren't a lender of fiat digital money, so therefore they were allowed to fail. You see what I'm getting at here? So the winners and the losers will be decided. There's no pointing to one entity saying this is going to trigger the collapse, that's going to trigger the collapse. I wish it was that simple, but it's way more detailed than that, and it's way beyond what most people can actually see. So you just have to prepare. And you've heard the term expect the unexpected. That's why I always say here, keep stacking, expect the unexpected. I expect things to get worse no matter how much of a rally that we see on Wall Street. Have any of the problems been fixed? Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks everybody here for watching. Talk to you very, very soon. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Peace.